So today we're going to do a physics-based slide system. So I'll press 1, slide down here, get to at this point, try and slide back up here. The slope stops you, so it's all about physics, and the slides adjust to the angle of the slope. And then on top of that, there's these animations, but if I go underneath here, I won't be able to stand up because I'm underneath something until I stand out, and then I can go back over it. So this is done in 5.6, but it's available in 5.4 and 5.5 as well. And this is done using true first person, but there is the ability to do it in third person as well as just normal first person. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all the YouTube members. This is available for you guys at the gold level to use and download straight away. So have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. Right, let's make a physics-based slide. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a blueprint class of a actor component. This will be BPC sliding. Let's open that up. And then what we need to do is we're going to go onto begin play and right click it, and we're going to do get owner. So the person who owns this. Get component by class. This will be the movement component, the character movement component, and then we're going to check if it is valid, because if it's not valid, we can't really do much else. So if that is valid, and then we're going to promote that to a variable. And then we can start grabbing off this, and we can get the ground friction and promote that to a variable. And then we can get the braking, deceleration walking, and promote that to a variable. And then we can get the gravity scale and promote that to a variable. What we're doing here is just grabbing all of the old stuff and making sure that it's like cached, so we know exactly what it is. So you can change it in your player, and this component will always remember it. That new var, we're going to call this the movement component, and then we'll compile and save that. So right now, then we're going to make a custom event, and this will be start slide. And from there, we are going to get owner again. And then we're going to get actor forward vector. And we're going to multiply that by an amount. So we're going to right click this bottom one, multiply it. And I'm going to choose like 1,000. That's how much it's going to throw our character forward and start our speed. Because what we need to do is get this movement component and set the velocity. Put that in there. And then off this movement component again, we're going to set the ground friction. Then off the movement component, we're going to set the braking, deceleration walking. Ground friction will be 0, and braking deceleration will be like 500. That's how quickly you'll come to a stop when you're sliding. Okay, now if I go to make a button input, so do press button 1 or key event 1, and then when that's pressed, I can begin sliding. Or what do I call it? Start slide. Start slide. Now if we go back to our first person character, we can press this and add, we can go to the top left corner, press add, and add the sliding component. And now every time I press 1, I'll jump myself forward like that. Okay, but that's not really doing what we want, and it's sticking these values in for keeps. So we need to like be able to stop that, reset it, and check all sorts of stuff. And the other thing that I can do is if I press 1, I can like move around as well. That's not really what I want. So we're gonna right click and get player controller, and then we're going to set ignore movement, move input, and tick that. And then finally, we're going to do 2 more things. And the first one is we're going to set the component tick enabled and tick that. And then we're going to create a new variable, which is a Boolean, and this will be sliding. And we're going to make sure that that is true. If we come up to class defaults, we can then turn the tick off. So we're going to start with a tick disabled. And then if we right click and tick event tick, and then we can get the movement component and add force. And then we can right click and get the owner. And oh no, we don't need to do that because we've stored the movement component here. So then we're gonna get floor, get current floor, and we can split that. And then we got this current floor result, so we can break that open. And then we're gonna do some maths off this normal here. So we're going to make a new function, and this will be check if floor is sloped, and that is going to need a vector input. So select it, add an input of vector. All right, and from that we're going to check if equal, so not equal exactly, so it's just equal. So we want this tolerance, and we get a branch, and then we return. So if it equals the 0, 0, then we pass in this new parameter to the return node, we get a vector, then it leaves it at 0, 0. It just means that we're on a flat ground. Okay, and what actually that means is the vector up. So we need to get vector up, not get up vector, just get vector up, pass that in to here. So if these two equal the same by a tolerance of 0.001, then we're on flat ground. Okay. From this new parameter, we're going to do a cross product, and we're going to put the vector up into the other part of that. And then from there again, we're going to do another cross product, and this one needs to go into the bottom, so you can press Control and move the pin. Put the new parameter into the result of the previous cross product, and then we're going to normalize that. That normalize is going to be multiplied, and it's going to be multiplied by this new parameter with a dot product, and then another vector up. So we can duplicate that to be another one, and then we need to 1 minus it. So we'll do subtract, Control to move the pin to the bottom, and put 1 into the top, and then we do a nice clamp float just here, leave that at 0 to 1, and then a multiply by about 500,000. Put that into the multiply, and then we're going to pass out a return node. So this is checking if the vector up and the new parameter equal a flat ground, and then these are checking the slopes, and this is applying a force to our character. So we can check if floor equipped, and we need to make sure it's a pure function. And then we can pass in floor normal to the new parameter, and the new parameter 1 will go into our add force. Okay, now we're going to get a sequence, and we're going to make sure that our velocity So we're going to get owner again. Get owner. And then we're going to get the velocity. And we're going to get the vector length. And then we're going to check if the vector length is more than the max speed that you want to go. So like 1,000. And if it is, do a branch, then we are going to get our movement component and set velocity. And we're going to then we're going to get this velocity and normalize it, and then we'll multiply it. Right click to make it a float, put that into velocity, right click it again to make sure it's still a float, and then we'll make that 1,200. And that 1,000, not 1,200. So we'll make that multiplied by 1,000, and that means that that max speed will always be just at 1,000. Then we need to check if the get owner, get velocity, and vector length, so on then 1, is less than a distance for our stopping speed, so 300. So then we'll get another branch. And if that's true, we need to make a new custom function, so custom event, and this will be end slide. So if that's true, then we call end slide. So while we're sliding, and we're on a slide until we get to a point where our speed is really small, and then we stop. And then we're going to get movement component. So then I'm going to do set ground friction and pass in our ground friction. Set braking deceleration warning, pass in our braking deceleration. Set gravity scale and pass in our gravity scale. Connect all those up. And then we're going to also check to say that we're not sliding anymore. We need a branch here because we need to make sure that we can check if we are stood up. So if there is something above our head, then we need to check that. So we're going to get owner, get actor location, and then we're going to do a line trace by channel. Do the start, and we'll get an add. Put that into the end, and the add will be like 150 above our head. And then we need to check if we hit something. So we can put a knot on here. So a knot ball, and put that into there, into the branch. Like that, and then if we haven't hit anything, then we can stand up, which means that on false we reset the move input, so we get the player controller, and we reset ignore move input, and then we turn off the tick, so tick enabled, set tick enabled, make that false. So now we can see what that looks like. See, it stops, and we were able to slide down the thing, but we can't stand up it. But now we're being stopped from moving again. So actually this needs to be on the true branch rather than the false branch. And now we can move and slide as we go. So if I slide down, you can see I'll go all the way over here. If I press to slide this way, I don't get all the way up because the slope has stopped me. Okay, back in PPC sliding, The other thing is, so you'll notice that if I press 1 and then press F8, the capsule doesn't go down, but also we're not doing animations. Now we'll fix the animations, that's not an issue, and the capsule is a bit different as well, so we'll fix that too. Now the other thing is we want to change the camera as well, like we want to lower the camera down. But first we need to lower the capsule. So we're going to create an event dispatcher and we'll say on start, stop, crouch. And then we're going to add a new parameter to that, and that will be a Boolean parameter. This will be start. Okay. And then on begin slide, so start slide, we're going to call that dispatcher and tick start. And then on end slide, if we don't have anything above our head, then we're going to call this dispatcher here and connect this up just here and press stop. But if we do have something above our head, then we're going to want to check what that is until we stop having something above our head. So we're going to do a custom event, and this will be adaptive crouch check. And this will be set timer by event, and we'll promote the variable here to the return variable. This will be our loop, and the event here will get a custom event. This will be our crouch check loop, and then the new var that we just set up will be our crouch check timer. We can copy those line trace nodes that we had and put them in here, and we can branch. This time needs to be on 0.1 seconds and it needs to be looping. And if this is true, then we are going to crouch check timer, clear and invalidate. And we're going to then call on stop crouch without it being ticked. And we'll handle that inside our player in a second. So if that's true, back to our end slide, if adaptive crouch check needs to go on true. So we'll end the slide, we'll reset all our variables, and we'll check if we have something above our heads. If we do have something above our heads, then adaptive crouch check triggers. And we start checking every like 1 second if we've still got something above our head. If we don't have something above our head, then we just stand up straight away. So now back in PvP first person player, we're going to select BPC sliding, and we check first if there is a crouch already on here, and there's not. So we're going to do on stop start crouching, then we'll get branch. And then we're going to make 2 custom events inside the player. So custom event, this will be start crouch, duplicate that, and this will be end crouch. Now on stop start crouching on this branch, on true we're going to start crouch, and on false we're going to end crouch. So we can call start crouch from here and end crouch from here. Now on start crouch we're just going to use the built-in crouch, and again the built-in uncrouch. These are default functions inside Unreal, so you don't need to do anything of those. And then we want to do add timeline, and crouch goes to play and uncrouch goes to reverse. Double click to open this timeline. We're going to add a float. We're going to make it 0.5 seconds. Right click to add a key. And on 0, the value will be 0.5. And then we'll add another key. At time 0.5, the value will be 0. So we're going down instead of up. In the event graph, we're going to get our capsule component. And we're going to do set capsule path height. And we're going to lerp and pass that into the return value. Make sure A is on the alpha. And the A for the capsule will be 35 by 96. So we can test this out. If I press 1 and then press F8, you can see the capsule is smaller, but our player isn't any smaller. So then we need to get the mesh, the first person mesh. Then we're going to get the mesh, this top mesh, and we're going to do set relative location. And then from this mesh, I'm going to get the relative location, right click new location to split it, right click relative location to split it, and I want to pass that into the X and Y. I'm going to get another lerp, so we can just copy, paste this lerp, pass the new track into the alpha and the return value into the Z. And we're going to have values of -50 and -96. Then we're going to get our first person camera, and we're going to do set relative location again. And then again, relative location, right click to split, right click to split, X and Y into the X and Y, nice and easy. Duplicate this lerp again, that into the Z, new track into the alpha, and this one will be -50 to minus, no, it won't, it'll be 25 to 0. 25 to 0, normal 25, not minus. Okay. Compile that. So we're changing the capsule component to make sure that it shrinks down for our crouch. So we'll put a object above our heads in a sec to check that. And then we're making sure the mesh reduces in line with the capsule component and the first person camera drops. So now when we press 1, see that we're moving a little bit, but I believe that this timeline is probably too short. So we're going to do 0.3 seconds instead. And this value at the start should be 1. And the value at the end, 0.3 and 0. So we should see more of an effect now. Moving our camera like we're doing a slide, and moving our mesh as well. Right, so next we're going to import our animations. Import our animations, so there's a slide loop, side exit, and slide enter, and we import them. And then we're going to right click, create a new animation blueprint. And hook it up to the SK mannequin. So we'll create that one, and we'll open that up. And we're going to need a state machine. And then from the state machine, we're going to do blend poses by ball, and the state machine will go on the true, and the false will need an input pose. We're going to need a variable for sliding, which will be our boolean. So sliding, and then one more, but this time it will be our type character. So type character object reference. This will be our character, and then we'll make that instance editable, and we'll compile that. Now, just quickly, we're going to go to the event graph, and we're going to get character, and we're going to is valid check that to check that we have our character and then it's valid. If it is valid, then we're going to do get component by class, and this will be our sliding component. Then we'll get the sliding variable that we've got, so get sliding, and we'll set the sliding variable that is in the ABP. So we're getting it from our component by class, which is our BPC sliding just here, and we're setting it inside our animation blueprint. We're just going to also do an is valid check on the BPC sliding so that it doesn't crash if we don't have the component. And then we're going to go to the anim graph, open up the new state machine, and we're going to create a state here. And this first one will be the transition state. This will be empty because we need something to move in and move out of it. Then we're going to have a new state, which will be the enter slide. Then another one, which will be the sliding. One more, which will be the exit slide, and then back to the transition. Now, enter slide transition is really easy. We just get sliding and say that we enter. Enter slide to sliding is a little bit more difficult. So this is time remaining. So then we're going to open enter slide, and we're going to get our slide animations. So slide enter, and then enter slide transition to sliding. We're going to do right click, time remaining ratio, slide enter, and we're just going to check that it's less than 0.1. And if it is, then we're going to enter the sliding, and we're going to get our slide loop and put that in there. And then from sliding, we're going to go to the exit, and this will be if sliding is not boolean. And then into exit slide, we'll get our slide exit montage or animation, and then transition back. We're to transition from exit slide, we're going to do time remaining slide exit ratio, and again less than 0.01 on this one, 0.01. We'll compile and save that. And then inside our first person character in blueprints, first person character, we'll select the mesh, go to unarmed C, open that up. And between the control rig and the output pose, we're going to right click and get a linked anim graph. And then we're going to get our new anim blueprint. Connect that up, pass character in, and say, yeah, that's fine. So now when we slide, we do an animation. And that is how to do a physics slide. Oh, one thing. I didn't show you the adaptive crouch working, did I? So we're going to select this box here, just make it bigger. And yeah, we've got these two mixed up. So adaptive crouch check needs to be on the false and on the true. The call on start stop check needs to be there. So that should now work. There we go. So we're crouching and we come out from under it and we stand up again. You can see our little checks happening just there. So that works too. Beautiful.